Hello and welcome to the Bad Astro Imaging channel. Tonight we're going to take about 35 minutes and we're going to run through my Pixinsight process for processing. Pretty basic in my opinion, nothing real advanced about my processing techniques at all. But first of all, a little disclaimer, I am not an expert in Pixinsight, nor am I an expert in making videos, tutorial videos. So bear with me, stick around and enjoy. Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Bad Astro Imaging channel. Got a lot of things planned for the channel, but some of the things I'd like to do is do some Pixinsight processing videos. I think I have a very simple processing technique that makes pretty decent images. I'm not the best, never claimed to be, because I'm learning this too. But I'm going to leave a link below to a Google Drive so you can access this data, and that way you can practice yourself. You can use the same techniques that I use. You can tweak them. You can process the image any way you want to, but we're going to go through how I like to process the image. And first thing we do is right here, I guess we can close all this, show you that these are my basic processes that I use on a pretty regular basis. And I'm gonna say process icons and load icons, and this is my base. So that opened up all those. Now we're going to open up the image. Got mine saved under the M31 with the master data. This has all been through WBPP. It's been drizzled, smothered, covered, and chunked. All the good stuff that WBP likes to do. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this name. What I do is I go over here and double click, and it lets me set the identifier, and we're going to call it M31. All right, first thing after that, we're going to run the dynamic background extraction. This is a process that I got from Sean Nilsson from Visible Dark. And basically, and I'll leave a link to this video as well, but basically all we're doing is pretty large samples all the way around the perimeter, and tolerance is set to 2, but for this image I'm going to drop it down to 1 and go down here and hit resize all. And since our image hasn't been stretched yet, we can see that all of our samples are good. And for my processes here, I'm going to change this, and for my target image correction I always use division. You can use subtraction, but division always works best for me. And then we are going to discard the background model. That's boring stuff. It just shows the green cast that was removed. And then we're going to replace the target image so we don't have a bunch of extra icons up here that we don't need. And so we'll run the check mark. Let DBE do its process. And now we've got a good background removal. We're going to run the STF to give us a look at our data, our first look at our data. So we've run DBE. The next thing we need to do is we're going to run the spectrophoto color calibration. And this was taken with the Player One Poseidon one-shot color. Really good camera. But it had the R UV cut filter on it, so all of my red filter, blue filter, green filter, they all reflect that it was taken with that sensor, the 571 with an R cut. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to create a preview. We're going to zoom into somewhere that has some background. Let's see. It don't need to be a big sample, just somewhere we can grab some background data. I'll go back to the full size view of that. We're going to go check region of interest from preview, M31 preview, click OK, and then we're going to click this square button and we're going to apply it. takes a few minutes or a few seconds for this to run through. So from what I understand is this is your ideal line, both on your red and green and blue and green. It says it did a pretty good job, so we're going to close that out. We're going to close out the photo calibration. Delete our preview. We don't need that anymore. All right, we just run SPCC. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to run Blur Exterminator, Russell Croman. Really like all his stuff. Everything was, in my opinion, fairly reasonable till you got to the Blur Exterminator, but at the end, I do believe it's worth it. So we've got some fuzziness here, and I'm going to take and just reduce the halos just ever so slightly, and then everything else I'm going to leave just the standard. And we're going to click the square button to hit apply. Now I have run the CUDA update on mine. I'm running a 3060 Ti graphics card, so I can apply that CUDA. And it still takes a minute for it to run through its processes, but it's a lot faster than not having that. All right, Blur Exterminator's done. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to grab a process that I learned from Stephen Miller over at Entering Into Space. And this is the way I process galaxies. It seems to be the best way to bring in your color saturation. And I like this process. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run up here to Script, Easy Processing Suite, and Soft Stretch. Just a note here is that I am running the latest update, 1.8.9.2.00007, whatever it is. And you can find the update that allows you to run the Easy Suite. You have to download it and install it yourself through the forums, Pixinsight forums, but it is working with the new update. So these are my settings that I use to stretch my galaxy images, and I'm going to run the Easy Soft Stretch. Pretty quick and painless. The second thing we're going to do, or the next thing we're going to do, we're going to run up here and we're going to grab this CIE-L component and we're going to extract it. All right, we've got that. We're going to go over here to our histogram transformation. We're going to reset the tool, click the check mark so we're never on the right image, hit real-time preview. Going to grab this shadows and we're going to pull it down. We don't want to clip it, but we want our background to be fairly dark. Once we got that, we're going to apply it. I'm going to close a histogram transformation, close our preview. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over here and we're going to grab your LRGB combination. Let's minimize this, pull it up here to the top. We're going to drag that down into the luminance channel. We're going to leave our lightness at 50 or 0.5, and then we're going to hit our saturation at 0.36. And then we're going to take and we're going to drag this instance, this little triangle, going to drag it over and drop it on the image. We're going to do this about 3 times. And every time we do it, our saturation is going to get just a little bit better and a little bit better. But what I'm looking at really is this star right here. It's going to start getting an orange, yellowish orange glow. The more we apply, the better it's going to get. You'll start to see some of these, like this one here, this orange star is going to get a little oranger. And then your blue stars are going to get a little bluer. By the time we hit this the 3rd time, you should really start to see the saturation of these stars and colors really start to pop. That was the 3rd time. We're going to run it one more time. All right, there you go. You can see really the saturation on these stars here really brought out the color in them. So we're going to close out our LRGB combination. All right, we closed out our LRGB combination. The next thing I like to do is remove the stars. Go over here to Russell Croman Star Exterminator. Everything's the same. No real settings there to change. This stuff does seem to run a little slower since the update, but I'm sure that that'll get better as they keep releasing updates. Still a whole lot faster than not having the CUDA update. We're going to close that out, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to name it Stars. And there's a reason for that, and we'll get into that later, but we're just going to take him and drop him up here where we know where he's at later. All right, next thing we want to do what is the next thing we want to do? All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to run the SCNR. And what I like to do is I like to remove about 7.75 of the green channel. At this stage, it's not going to make a huge difference, but you can see that it changed the color of the galaxy a good bit. And close that. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to, since we've got a starless image, we're going to go back up here and we're going to extract the CIE, the luminance channel again. All right, we got our luminance from our starless image. And we're going to go back in, and what we're going to do is go to our histogram channel again, reset the tool, get a real-time preview, and we're going to darken. We don't need to darken it much. This is really nice background here. Just darken it ever so slightly. Because what we're going to do is we're going to apply a luminance mask. We're just going to drag and drop that over top, minimize this to get it out of the way. Then we're going to right click, mask, show mask. All right, so next thing we're going to do, we're going to go over here to curves transformation. Reset the tool, and we're going to hit it with a saturation boost. And because we're using a luminance mask, we're saturating the galaxy, but not saturating the background anymore. We'll just run a little saturation, kind of play with the curve there till you find what you like. Hit apply. Generally, sometimes I'll run that twice, but I think that's, let's turn off the preview. Yeah, let's run that one more time. Get a little more pop in that center of the galaxy. All right, so now we still got our mask applied, but I want to take and I want to increase some of this stuff out here on the edge a little bit. We're going to go into GHS, generalized hyperbolic stretch. And we're just going to pick a spot out here in this little fuzzy area. You can see that it gives us, this is the where we're going to apply the stretch at the most, and we're going to send that to our symmetry point. And then we're going to come down to our stretch factor. We're just going to, you know what you got to do? You got to open up real-time preview first. We're just going to apply a little stretch there. We're going to play with our local intensity. We don't want to go too far. But you can see it's starting to blow out the core here, so we're going to come down to our protect highlights. And we're going to pull that back. We've stretched our data just a little bit. Not much, it sucks. We're going to preview, just boosting it just a little bit, those shadows. We're going to apply that. We're going to reset our tool. We're going to come in here to saturation. In our mode, go to saturation. We're going to pull that saturation up just a little bit more. Doesn't need much. Not that much. And we're going to apply that to our image. Reset the tool, shut that down, close our preview. All right, we still got our mask on. what we're going to do, what I like to do, is this local histogram transformation. And I've got two instances set up. One of them is for your finer detail, and one of them is set up for your more broad detail, if you will. And I've got this set at 30, but I like to run it down to 28. And then my amount, I always keep it 2, but you can play with that a little bit because it's got a mask on it. You can push it a little harder, but I like to keep it around 2 for subtleness. And then we're going to apply that. We're going to close that out. Now the next thing I'm going to do here, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's one of those things where I try it. If it doesn't work, I just undo it. But we're going to go to process, all processes, and we're going to go to HDR multiscale transform. And what I found on this image that works the best is we're going to run this up to about 10 layers. And we're going to drop this down to small scale 16. And then we're going to apply that to our lightness. And then we're going to drag and drop. This does take a minute to run. See, we did a little bit of we just kind of knocked that brightness down on that core a little bit. From there to there. See, I think that worked pretty good this time, so we're going to leave it like that. And next thing we're going to do is remove the mask. Now this is the point where I like to run my noise exterminator. I run my noise exterminator pretty late in the game, but you can look in here and see this is not a really noisy image, even after all the boost and stuff that we've done to it. So we're going to run noise exterminator. This is just your let me see, I think I changed that. Yeah, I'll drop this down to 0.8, and we're going to leave our detail at 0.15, and we're going to drag and drop it over here. Now I have noticed since the update that when you go into some of these more processor intensive processes, the screen will black out. Don't freak out, it'll come back. All right. Let's close out our noise exterminator, and then the next thing we're going to run. All right. We do have some detail out here on the outer edge that's not showing up quite as good as it could right now. So we can you can go into curves, not curbs. Don't hit the curve. Go to real-time preview, and we can go to our lightness. And we can take it and we can boost that just a little bit. And then pull your shadows down. But that don't really get out here like I want to. But what I do is I open up generalized hyperbolic stretch again, and then I'll take and pick out here this symmetry point, or this point that I want to adjust. And again, it shows it over here. We'll send that to our symmetry point, and we're just going to give a light boost. We got to open up that real-time preview. Reset the tool. We over here in this light area, this faint dust out here on the edge of the galaxy. Send that to our symmetry point. We're going to take our stretch factor and we're going to bump it up just ever so slightly. And our local intensity, we're going to bring that up a little bit. Not much, subtle. And then we're going to take and we're going to drop our highlights back down. We're just going for a subtle, just ever so slightly pick these little edges up. Check our preview. I feel like we desaturated that core too much. So let's pull our highlights down again. maybe not quite so extreme. There we go. All right, we're going to apply that. Take and close that out because I think we're done with it. All right, so I think that we could use a little more saturation in here. So we're going to take and we're going to pull another luminance channel. Because every time we change it, the luminance channel changes. Background looks pretty good, so we're just going to drop it over here, make another mask with it. Take this over here out of the way. We're going to go to curves, reset our tool, check real-time preview. We're going to go back to saturation. We're going to give a little more saturation on this. And you can see, you probably can't see it in YouTube land. You probably won't be able to see it in Facebook or on AstroBin either. But some of these little HA pockets are starting to pop up. They're just, you know, with a one-shot color camera, you can't get good HA data. We're going to do that. We're going to apply that. Reset the tool. We're going to take our blue channel on this B component here. I'll pull it down just a little bit to give it a little bit more blue. And this is one of those flavor to taste kind of things. Kind of play with it till you got the colors you like. Apply it. Ooh, too much blue. Reset the tool, we'll drop that. And after we've done all that, well, we got some pretty good detail in here. There's one of those little HA pockets. Just ever so slightly in there. While we got our mask on it, I'm going to run the local histogram transformation one more time. Preview on, preview off. Just makes a subtle difference. Like I say, stuff you'll never see in YouTube land. Once that runs, we're going to drop that. We're going to take and we're going to remove our mask. And we're going to check the noise. Noise looks pretty good. And you can push this further. I just kind of like the more subdued look to it. More natural. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use one of Bill Blanchard's tools over here. It's called Clone for Starless. Just going to drag and drop. We're going to minimize that. Going to put him over here with stars and starless. And then this is why I named stars the way I did earlier. Is because I've got a pixel math process set up here for rescreening stars. So let me explain that just a little bit in case you don't know. You go to Star Exterminator. You unscreen the stars. You go over here and you hit this little, not that. Where was it at? Oh, right here. You hover over this unscreen stars. I forgot where it's at. I'm sorry. You'll notice, and I can't move. I can't move the cursor or it'll disappear. But down there, second line from the bottom, it gives you the formula. And you got to make sure that your names match exactly. Stars. Mine's with a capital S on both sides. So that's the way I name mine. So I've got a pixel math process set up for there that stays right there all the time, because I don't ever process an image anymore that I don't remove the stars. So I'm gonna close that down. I just opened that up to show you the math. And then I'm gonna take my combined stars icon here and I'm gonna drag it and I'm gonna drop it. We brought our stars back in. Now to me, looks like a pretty good image. Nice background. Galaxy stands out nicely against the background. Beautifully saturated stars. But one thing we're going to do, and you can choose to do this if you want to or not. These stars don't look too bad, but I still generally will run a star reduction on it. And Bill has recently released a star reduction script. I just haven't gotten that far into it yet to start bringing it in, incorporating it into my everyday processing. What I like to use is his star reduction method 3, and it's a small change. If you run, well, we'll show you here. We'll just make a clone here, and we'll run method 1 on the clone. And you can see that was a really big change in the reduction of the stars, and that looks good too. But what we can do here is we can run V3 and it's not quite, look at this star right here, before and after. It's a subtle change. Let's open this up and we're going to match our view. See this, you can see the reduction on these two stars right here, or all of this little group of stars. Version 3 is just a little more subtle. So that's the process I like to use, is the V3 version of the reduction. We're going to close that out because I don't want that. And really, what is that? 30 minutes it's taking us to process this. And generally I can process this quicker when I'm not explaining. But like I say, I've got a really, what I think is a basic processing flow that turns out some pretty decent images. And like I say, this can be pushed further, but I tend to keep things in the natural. And one more thing I want to do, and I realize this is how Andromeda sits in the sky, but I like it rotated. So what I did is I created a rotation process, and I think you can go over here to processes, all process, or you can go down here to process and then geometry, and then you've got the rotation. But what I've done is I've saved it to rotate. For whatever reason, everything seems to end up 180 degrees from where I like to, or well, I'll start out one way, and by the time the night's over, meridian flip and all that is changed. But anyway, I kind of like it in the other view, so I'm just going to take and drag this triangle and drop it. No, I don't care about the asymmetric, astrometric. What did that say? Whatever. The astrometric solution. I don't care about that. I'm not doing this for science. I'm doing this for fun and pretty pictures. Anyway, that is how I would process my data for the Andromeda galaxy. Brought out some really nice detail. We got some nice detail in the lanes, and hopefully you found this helpful. And if you do decide you want to take my data and process it and play with it, feel free. It's there. The universe belongs to everybody. I don't have any issues. I'm not even going to put a little logo down here at the bottom saying it's mine. But if you do decide to process it and you want to publish it in the Pixinsight Facebook group, just tag me and let me know that you used it. And you know, if you've got better processing techniques, share that as well. You know, I took Jamie's data and I just blew him out of the water. But tag me because I want to see it. And I wouldn't mind some suggestions on how to process this better anyway. So, like I say, pretty simple method. Not a lot of, you know, I mean, I use a lot of luminance mask, but not a lot of pixel math and formulas and inverted mask and this, that, and the other. My opinion is a pretty simple, excuse me, a pretty simple processing technique that pulls out some pretty decent data. It's enough to make your Facebook friends go, wow. It might not get an APOD, but it'll get your friends' attention when you tell them you took this kind of image and processed it out. So anyway, like I said, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something from it. Hope you got something you could take away from it. If nothing else, the practice data. When I first got my trial license, was it 45 days that you got? And it was cloudy, and I was begging for data. Somebody give me something I can process, so I can practice. And I think I had one person reach out and said, here, and it was good data too. It was their Orion complex. But anyway, like I say, this data is free for you to use. If you process it and share it, just tag me in it somewhere. I'm in the astrophotography Facebook channel. I'm on AstroBin. I'm in the Pixinsight for beginners. Learning astrophotography. I won't say all of them, but a good bit of the popular ones. So, like I say, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave me a like down below. Let me know that you liked it. And if, like I say, if you've got any other kind of ideas or processing techniques that you'd like to share, leave them in the comments below. And just before I go here, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna go to my astro stuff and my masters, and all of these ended up being pretty good data. And I hope to make processing tutorials on all of them. And again, all of the data will be loaded down below for you to tinker with. And if I process it on YouTube, you'll have access to the files, so you can practice on it as well. All right. Well, like I say, appreciate you guys stopping in and hanging out with me for 35 minutes, 32 minutes. Enjoy the data. Do with it what you will. Have fun with it. And how do you end these things? I mean, like Steve's got clear skies, clear minds. Dylan says it's all meaningless and we're all going to die. I'll just say clear skies. Good night, everybody.